And we are live once again for another GRAPPL FPL Club Game Week 14 review. I'm Benno. A lot of yellow flags going around the place, folks. They're getting a bit of echo there. I don't know where it's coming from. Gremlin's in the system. Andy Jamesy, how are we?
Very good.
Not doing that.
Yeah. We're all right, aren't we, Andy? Me and you are we're the yellow flag ones. I'm full of colds. You're full of colds. This time of year, no Mr. Stato Chris Lene with us this week. Unfortunately, he's otherwise engaged. We tried to draft in a couple of super subs who also couldn't make it, but last 3 men standard, Andy. We're still here. We're still all right. It's probably not COVID. We'll be okay.
Well, we'll be fine. It's only a light cold. I keep telling myself as I got piss wet through with every.
Brilliant.
On the way home from work yesterday, going down an hill, all puddles to the side of us, and every bloody car coming past a 4x4, ready to bloody splash me.
Where were you at the footy with Gareth? Were you at the weekend, or was it?
So Tuesday night, we were in Macclesfield watching the mighty Workington against Macclesfield. They got beat 4-1. Macclesfield's now owned by Robbie Savage of TV pundit fame. He's put a lot of money into the club, and you can tell they've got like ex-League One players playing up front from like Nicky Maynard, who played for Bristol City, and Neil Dans, who was ex-Crystal Palace. They're a class.
Kind of by the way up.
Yeah, class above for like ninth tier football. But no, it was an enjoyable evening. It was just absolutely pissed it down.
I saw you there. Didn't you have a good scram from there as well? I thought you submitted to Footy Scram, which is one of the best accounts on Twitter. It's such a simple thing, isn't it? It'll be like pie rolls and stuff, and then like one place will have like a full Indian. It's like it's the best.
Yeah, I'm off to the main Footy Scram place this weekend, Avro FC, which is just outside Oldham, like South Chadderton. That's sort of like the one that gets all the numbers. They have all like salt and pepper chips, ultimate burgers, and it's pretty cheap as well. Yeah, you probably have change from a 20, and that's just including entrance fee, price of a pint, and some food, and you've got change left. Can't beat it.
What happened to a cup of Bovril, James? That's what it was in my day. I was made up with me, like, to keep you warm on like a cold like winter's night. You know, that's all you needed. That's it. It's getting crazy.
Do you actually drink Bovril, Benno?
I will, I'll have it, yeah. I quite like it, but I think it's from being indoctrinated at a young age, like going, like I used to go, my dad took me all the games when I was younger. I probably should have appreciated it more, but like he'd take me pretty much every week, and it'd be one of those long days out where like he'll drag you to the pub, like pubs that I'll go to now as well, but as a kid, they were like these dark, dingy places I just didn't want to be in, like along County Road by Goodison. Like stood there bored, like being like you get like a can of Coke maybe and a packet of crisps while your dad's having a good drink in the corner with his mates. But the one thing I'd look forward to is getting in the ground, and I'd get a couple of Bovrils. So it might not be the taste; it might just be that that thing that it's like, okay, once I've got my Bovril, I'm in my seat and I can actually watch the game now, and I'm not getting bored by my dad's mates in the pub. Maybe that's what it is.
We used to have a guy at when I used to live in Waterford. I used to go and watch them every Waterford FC, or back then they were known as Waterford United, on a Friday night. And we had a guy who'd be at the matches called Rocket Man, and he'd have a portable Burco boiler on his back, and he'd come around to your seat. And you'd give him €2 and get your cup of tea in your seat from him. It was brilliant. It was great.
Brilliant.
What a business.
Because it used to be freezing in that stand as well. Like, so, like, I wouldn't even be a big tea drinker normally, but you'd get your cup of tea from Rocket Man at halftime, I tell you.
That's it. Just a nice hot cup of tea, nice hot coffee.
It's the warmth more than anything, just something to hold.
Yeah, that's all you want. Yeah, like, when I haven't been to Goodison in a good few years, but like when it started getting upgraded to like foot long hot dogs and things like that, game's gone. It's not the same. I want a scouse pie and a Bovril. That's all. That's all I'm after. But yeah, some of them do look crazy. Food. No prawns. That was when I posted on. We did GRAPPL on Monday, and I put in the show images of Tony and Sean at the game, and I posted the Twitter, and some American was like, "Oh, what do you think we would do eating at the game? I bet you was like caviar or something." I was no prawn sandwiches. That's exactly what Tony Fulham, as they got to experience the 0-0 bore draw with Everton. Orange Cassidy was there, wasn't he? And Britt
Baker, yeah.
I was with Britt Baker. I think it was Rolver who noticed this. I was like, she was tweeting about some Penn State college football game in between the Fulham match. So it shows how much she were interested in what were going on.
I wonder how much he goes on about Fulham to all the rest.
Spend the game on a phone, yeah.
I wonder, is he constantly talking to them all about it? Like, or is it just him and Pack? And who else? Maybe Miro might be into the football, and a few more of the Europeans just kind of huddled around his mobile phone backstage watching Premier League matches and that kind of thing.
I wonder what they think of it. Like, he must explain it to them, like, oh, it's the Premier League and we play Man City, and then like Orange Cassidy comes over, and Craven Cottage is a nice place, but it's probably not what you imagine when you imagine like the top sports league, like in England. Like, I can't imagine them thinking much of it.
When you think like even college football over there, like, is played in massive, like tens, like 80,000 seater stadiums, and then what's Craven Cottage, 20, 30 maybe?
It's about 20 or 30,
yeah. It must be fairly quaint looking to them. Like, they probably find it charming more than impressive, that kind of a way.
Good job they didn't come over for an FA Cup game, say if it was like Fulham away at Rotherham or Rochdale. Fucking hell, good.
Millwall.
Millwall.
That'd be a shock to the system, I tell you.
Did the Jags actually win? I don't even know. How did that go on Sunday? Because it was
they got beat by my team, the Denver Broncos, which is a miracle because the Broncos have like lost every game this season.
Rough weekend then for the Cart family. Fucking hell. Yeah. At some point, Shad's going to be like, "Yeah, what are you doing, wasting your money on all these?" And that's the other thing when they're on screen. I'm pretty sure I was watching like a US feed. Shad Khan got like the name on the banner treatment. Tony Khan, it was just like, who's this bloke? It's just he was the bloke next to him, sat there looking miserable in the stands. Doesn't count.
Do you reckon he plays FPL, Tony?
Oh, you'd think he would. He's a numbers man, isn't he?
Like, the numbers and the stats and maybe he doesn't have time to play FPL. Or he probably shouldn't be playing FPL. He plays real life FPL, but I'd say that'd be. You have to get a question in there, Benno, when you're over at the next AEW set of shows now. If you get yourself a media pass, you need to try and sneak in a question about Mitrovic in the FPL. Should I hold him over the World Cup?
I'll work my way in. I've already the AEW have got like their media reps. Like at first, I could tell he just really didn't like me because like Steph was at like this hotel thing, like interviewing like Big Show and Tony Storm in like this quiet hotel room, and I just tagged along, and you could tell he was like, "Who's this fucker?" And then he started talking to me, the media bloke, and he was like, "Oh, it just came up that he was a Chelsea fan." I was like, "There's my in." An American who likes Chelsea. I know the names of the players from playing FPL. I can have a good chat with them. So we're best mates now. I think that's literally why I've got a media access. So I'm gonna keep that going. Yeah, try and work on Tony, bring up Mitro and how good he is. Try and find out if he's got him in his FPL team. But I think that's just Tony Khan's life in general, isn't it? It's one big EWR/football manager game anyway, so it's all the same business, I think. But yeah, Connor asks, actually, me and JP didn't talk about it on Spotlight on Monday, that Italian 90 documentary. I thought it was launching next week, so yeah, we went head to head with it, idiots. But have you guys watched it yet?
Yeah, I seen it last night. So the first episode were mainly about hooliganism, and it was based around like the 1980s, obviously, and Margaret Thatcher being in charge. I was like, bloody hell, this could end up like bloody 2022, 2023 in the UK with riots and everything, and what was going on. But just going through, like, I think it was the Millwall riots, which that seemed was it when they went? I think they went to like Luton Town. Everyone from like the southwest of London had congregated at this football stadium. Like, I think there were like Chelsea fans, Spurs fans. Every bugger had turned up just for a scrap. And then it was showing the first game in the World Cup, which is England and the Republic of Ireland, obviously, like tensions and everything with what goes on away from football. But it's really good to watch. It's funny, the obvious one with England and Republic of Ireland's the one like a few years later where it all kicks off, James, isn't it?
95 that was, at Lansdowne Road, and then they banned us from playing them then for years after that, But that was, I really enjoyed it, I have to say. It wasn't what I expected. I just thought it was going to be about the actual World Cup itself. But like, Jesus, it was very wide ranging, like between the hooliganism and the Irish-English rivalry. Like, they covered in the space of an hour, they covered an awful lot of ground, didn't they?
I thought they cut off a bit at the end because it just come out like like a couple of the hooligans were there as undercover coppers.
that was a big plot twist, wasn't it? Because they had paint. There was a guy, a United fan, and then there was who was the other one? Andy, it was a different club
I think
again.
it was the main Millwall guy.
Yeah. And then this big twist, actually, I'm a cop, and it isn't, my name isn't Jerry something, it's Jerry something else. It was like, fucking hell. How did that come from? But they're trying to do a lot with it. Like, I don't know, are they nearly covering too much ground? Because it's like, how much of it was actually about the World Cup in the end? You know what I mean? Like, very little, you know.
Really, but it showed some like shots today of that big stadium in Sardinia, and it just looks like a wasteland now.
Yeah, it looks abandoned. Yeah, that happens so often with World Cups and European Championships that they build stadiums or do them up, and then they just get left. I think
like
that happened.
Brazil, in it.
Yeah, spent a fortune, and then nobody's using them anymore because they're too big for local teams to use, almost, you know, that kind of a way. But definitely, if people haven't seen it, really good. Like, and for me, that 1990 World Cup, like, that's the first World Cup. I kind of remember the European Championships in '88, but 1990, then I was properly into, like, I would have been 9 years of age. First time Ireland had ever been in the World Cup, so the country just went fucking mental anyway about it. Like, but so I have very fond memory. Like, it's a terrible World Cup from a football point of view when you read back the articles about it and read stories and books about it. Like, but as a 9-year-old sitting at home, glued to it, like the magic of it, I didn't care about match quality. You know, I think wasn't it the last time they had? I think the pass back rule was changed specifically because of that, because the games were so drab and everybody was playing for 0-0. They're just passing the ball around the defense and back to the keeper, and they said, "Oh, well, we have to change the rule now." So it was such a bad World Cup that it changed football. But to me, as a 9-year-old, I didn't care. I was glued to every match. Had my sticker album out, had my wall chart on the wall. It was just pure magic for me, like, you know.
It's the same with wrestling, isn't it? It's the wrestling you grew up with, you're going to have a nostalgia for, you know what I mean? It's like everyone can tell, logistically it was bad, but you'll still love it, you know. I'm like that with some late 90s WCW. But like, yeah, for me, like 90, I would have been 6, so I would have been just about old enough to kind of know what was going on, but I don't have a huge memory of it. The nostalgia I've got for it is just living in it afterwards, you know, the clips and kind of growing up with it all. It's a bit, I always describe Oasis like that. It's like I wasn't into them at the time, but like there's something about that time period that I'm nostalgic for, and it's kind of over my life I've become a fan just because of that. And I think it's kind of the same there, where it's like it's just such a big part of our pop culture for people around our age that like you can't help but look back at it with rose-tinted spectacles. So yeah, I'm dying to watch it. Like, they need to do that. They do that. Maybe do Euro '96 next. Just go through to all the big tournaments.
I think they have done a Euro '96 one, sort of, on like ITV. But it's always the case with any World Cup or major tournament coming up. It's always repeats of '66 World Cup final, '90 and '96.
Yeah,
that's favorite.
The three, you know. The IWC moments for English football, as Matty Edwards would say. As
Lindsay says in the chat, like I'm with him. Like Italian '94, absolutely. Like that was it. Because it was America, wasn't it? So it was big, and I remember having the wall chart and stuff. I was just at the right age then. You go
94, where all the kickoffs were like, they were quite late at night. So like talking from 8 o'clock till 2 in the morning. The big Diana Ross penalty miss as well.
It didn't even reach the goal line, did it?
Yeah, obviously with that and Maradona coked up to the nines, weren't it?
Going up to the camera, shaking the camera,
yeah.
They should have let him play on. He was brilliant. He was brilliant for those 3 games.
Again, another wrestler like an 80s wrestler. They're better on the coke. Just let them be. Let Maradona be Maradona. Let Gaza be Gaza. You know, that'll come back of it. It'll all work out at the end. But yeah, like that. It does, like, that's what the World Cup's going to be like coming up, isn't it? It's going to be all hours, isn't it? The game's going to be morning games, night games, evening games. It's just going to be right through the day. So yeah, there'll be little kids out there.
17 days away.
Is that all it is?
It's scary.
I didn't realize that, like, do you know usually for a World Cup they'll go to a camp and they'll have 2 or 3 weeks together, like, to train and to get their formations. There's literally a Premier League game one weekend, and then the opening game is the fall. There's literally a week. It's fucking mental.
Gee.
Like there's
No wonder
time.
Foden can't be asked anymore. No wonder Pepson's back.
Exactly.
Carabao Cup as well.
On the Wednesday, the Wednesday before it, So like, it's
because generally with the World Cup and Euro Championships, there's like a friendly before the actual tournament. I think England have played like Jamaica or something like that, beating like 6-0, have the great farewell at Old Trafford, and then promptly do shit in the tournament.
Maybe it'll be better. Maybe they'll be better off without any trade and just go. But like, there's going to be some serious winging it. Like there's no room here for like tactics even or having a chance to like the team will literally have to train on the pitch during their matches, like, because there's no time to do anything. Like, it's just madness.
It might prove a point, like literally, like the leagues are so important now, Premier League and that, all these international breaks we have to play friendlies. Fuck it, just do the tournaments. Let's just do it. Potluck.
Get out in the pitch and off you go.
I think it might make it better.
Straight off the airplane onto the pitch.
That's it. Oh yeah, there's nothing like a horrible international, especially when like you're getting a bit of momentum in FPL or like things you got, and it's just you look like, oh, for fuck's sake, it's a blank week this week. Yeah, do away with them. That should be the lesson of this World Cup. But I suppose we should get into the FPL stuff. I was going to say there's only 3 of us this week. What just go 3 hours? JP, you're filling. You're Mr. Stato this week. You're Linne this week, so you'll be.
Well, I'll try. I can't promise to be. I've taken screenshots. That's about as good as I can do. But yeah, we'll do our best. We'll do our best to fill in for the great man. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll hopefully have him back next week. Might have a couple of fun guests next week that I'll mention in a bit. But yeah, let's have a little look at the Contributors League. I mean, I can't help but notice Chris has a red arrow and he's 11th. I mean, look, if that's got anything to do with why he's not here today. Just throwing it up there. But Jamesy, once again, no red arrow for you, mate. 70 points for the game week. Very, very strong game week. Gets you up to 848. I think I looked at one point you were top 80,000th in the world. Don't know if you're quite up there still, but you're in the mix, mate. You're having a cracking start to the season.
Yeah. It was a good week. I'd had 3 or 4. Do you know those weeks where you're not doing badly, but you're not doing well? You just feel like you're kind of running like a hamster running on a wheel, and you're it's so hard. Like I look back at my points there for the last 3 or 4 weeks before this week, and I had no returns from any midfielder for the last 3 weeks. So like 12 players in total, and just nothing coming from the midfield. But between one thing and another, between Foden being a troll, Zaha being himself, Salah being crap, Martinelli had a few quiet weeks. It was just like, God, like they couldn't get the points going. So it was a good week now this week, I have to say. 70 points, very happy with that. I can run through it there for the benefit of the listeners. So Guaita in goal. Delighted with him. Like, that was a 9-pointer from a goalkeeper, which was brilliant. I think he got 2 bonus points. I think he made 4 saves or something like that. And like I've been a bit skeptical about him. And as Andy said before a couple of weeks ago, when you watch him play, he's not the greatest goalkeeper in the world, and he causes panic in his defense sometimes when he's dealing with back passes. But I was looking at his points total. Like, I brought him in, like, this is game week 14. I brought him in on my wild card in 9, and I was looking at I was trying to figure out how good a pick he had been. So I was adding up the points totals for all the goalkeepers in the game from 9 to 14, and there's only 3 goalkeepers who have had more points than him in the time I've had him, which is pretty good. Now, most of his points have come from 2 games. There was like an 11-pointer one week and a 9-pointer another week, and then the other weeks he's had 2s and 3s and 1s and that kind of thing. Like, but for a 4.5 million goalkeeper from a team like Palace, I'm pretty happy with him, to be honest. I think that's a grand return. I'll keep him till the World Cup. I'll probably let him go then on the wild card, but as we've said all season, there is no outstanding goalkeeper option in the game at the moment, really. Sure, there's not. Like, there's no one you kind of look at and go, God, I'd love to have him. Maybe Kepa for a while there was looking like it, but he's injured now as well. So yeah, as I said, very happy with him. He was purely a fixture-based signing.
It was like at that time when we were all looking at the goalies, like when everyone was in that dilemma of when Ward wasn't any good, Ward and Iverson, and it was like, but actually, who do you get? There was no one, and everyone's kind of. I went Poe, people went Pickford. That one's worked out, but great. It probably can't. Yeah, like you say, you can't ask for more, can you?
He's grand. Like one of the only few who has more is Ward sitting on my bench. Ironically enough, if I just plumped for him, we would have been flying. Like, unfortunately, but sure, what can you do? And then moving on to the back three, Ben White, I brought in as a transfer. I sold Guehi for him. Now, if I kept Guehi, I would have got 6 points from him as well. But I think I'm probably better set up for the next 2 weeks with White in the team. That was a clean sheet against Notts Forest, which was great. Cancelo, 6-pointer from him. You know, his points, everyone has Cancelo, so his points aren't necessarily going to do an awful lot for you, but he just keeps ticking away. Trippier, the man himself again, as I said, my MVP of the season so far. Clean
100%.
sheet, assist. I think he's now the highest scoring defender in the game. I think I looked there earlier, which is amazing for a Newcastle defender, you know. So, yeah, just if it's not an assist he gets in a game week, it's a clean sheet. It's a bonus point in a clean sheet. You know, it's never even a 6. It's always a 7, an 8, a 9, 11. This week is his best week so far. Just when we get to talk about Andy's team, we'll talk about Newcastle, how solid they are, and I'd say that was the most celebrated clean sheet of the week, Andy.
Oh yes,
I'd say you coming into injury time, I'd say you were refreshing your live score app there when it came into injury time in that game.
Oh, I know.
You did well.
Yeah, great call. Yeah, I have to say. And then onto the midfield. Zaha, we curse him every week. There he is again with his 2-pointer.
He's got to go, Jamesy. Surely he's got to go.
He's got to go. But it's the same thing I say about him every week. His fixtures are good, and I may have other problems that I have to know. There might be, you know. So if he survives, it's because I had bigger problems elsewhere. I would love to sell him. There's plenty budget options.
James, I think there was that picture of how many touches he had in the box, or how many shots he'd had. 1 shot in 90 minutes.
Yeah,
crap.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre. And you know what'll happen? Like he'll play against a big team, and the cameras will be on him, and he'll score twice. I think he's just one of these players. He only gets himself up for the big games. Lesson learned, lads. If I'm here in game week 23 and there's a double game week and Palace have 2 nights, if you see me talking about Zaha, tell me no. Tell me walk away from the computer. It's just, I've been burned. I think
what it is as well. It's just we look at him and he's the known FPL asset. It's like he's the name we all know. So it's like, we'll go with him. It's memories of like FPL game weeks past, isn't it? That convince you of it. There's that you've seen that FPL Zaha account on Twitter, like the one account left who's still based on the name, very high on Zaha, but everyone made that mistake. It's one of them. The fixtures look good. Traditionally, he's a good player. I think it's just one of them, isn't it?
It is, and as we say, just such a miserable experience to watch him and to watch him playing in games. And he just clearly does not want to be at Crystal Palace, but also can't get out of there. So he's just kind of stuck. He's like a guy who's stuck in a job that he doesn't like, but can't get a job anywhere else. So he just kind of comes in, phones it in every week. Every now and again, he does something just so his boss sees it and goes, "Oh yeah, he's really good. I'll keep him on." And then fucking goes back to sleep at his desk then for the next 3 weeks, kind of. Yeah.
Judge Zaha, there's the title sorted.
Oh, and then we're talking about trolls. Phil fucking Foden. Oh my god. Is there something going on there, guys? Is it like has he fallen out with Pep? Because like if you look at his minutes up until everyone bought him, literally up to game week 11, started every game, and like the thing with him was in the last 2 or 3 seasons, I always stayed away from Foden because this would happen. He would play one, he'd be out, he'd be in, he'd be out. He'd play the Champions League game, but like we all thought, based on his minutes so far, he was nailed. 90 minutes, and then the last 2 game weeks. He's playing, and like the worst thing is he's playing like the Champions League game that they just had during the week was utterly meaningless. Like City had, it wasn't even to win the group. Like they had won the group, they had qualified. Some clubs go hard in those games because you get a few million for getting more points in the Champions League. Like City don't need an extra million for winning a game, and like there's just no good reason for it really. So he's playing him in that game. And how confident are we he's going to play next to you at the weekend? Like, it's the same thing. And he played the full 90. Like, he played Grealish in that game during the week, but took him off after 60 minutes. He played all the other senior players who played were taken off after an hour. And he's left on for the full 90. So it's like, is this going to happen to us again at the weekend? I really don't know what's happening.
He's trying to prove some kind of point. It's got to be like, a discipline thing or
did he turn up to training a bit pissed or something? I don't. There has to be something where he's just making a point to him. Yeah.
One of the rumours were like Foden's thinking. I think Pep's thinking that Foden's trying to save himself for the World Cup more than. So that's why he's not playing him much, just to sort of prove a point. But
it's the most Pep thing to do, though, isn't it? Like, I fell for it. You would all applaud me for my stupid 8-point hit that landed me with Saka and Foden, and fuck me, did that not pay off? It's all about getting on the player at the wrong time. But
that was a good choice. That was a good choice. And like, basically, the net effect of it was most of us had KDB, and we took him out for that blank game week in 12. And then we, instead of going back to KDB, we went to Foden because he was 4 million cheaper and you could spend that money elsewhere. Like, the logic, if it happened again, you do it again. You know what I mean? The logic was sound. You've got a guy who's banging in the goals, who's finally realizing his talent. He's playing 90 minutes every week, even though he's in a team that rotates. It was a good shout. It's a good decision, bad outcome. Not a bad decision, bad outcome. You know what I mean? And I think it is important to differentiate, because it can be hard when you've had a shit week in FPL and you look back and go, that was a crap decision. That was a crap decision. If you look back at the logic you apply to your decisions, and if you can say that was a good decision, then it's just bad luck. That's all it is. It's FPL. That's what happens in the game. You know what I mean? It's a cruel game sometimes, but I don't think you can beat yourself up over putting Phil Foden in your team in the form he's in. You know what I mean? With 4 games to go when we did it.
It still hurts when you look at KDB's points, but you're right. That's it. It's the move you'd make, isn't it? Again,
exactly.
We give him the chance. It's that week when Liverpool banged in 9 and Salah didn't score, isn't it? It's the same lesson, isn't it? You would, if someone told you that score blind, you'd be like, "Cool, I'm triple captain and Salah."
Exactly.
You would, even knowing the score, you'd have done that. So it is what it is. What can you do?
Exactly.
So speaking of the big man, vice captain.
Yeah, there you go, Mo Salah.
Is that a conscious thought, vice captain of them rather than going the full captain, just in case Haaland turned up?
Yeah, well, I didn't have the good fortune to be online right up to the deadline, and I know a lot of people got wind of the lineup. Maybe I just couldn't. My daughter had training, and I was on the side of a pitch, and I was like, I can't be on my phone doing transfers here, and I'm supposed to be helping out and holding linesman's flag and things like that. So I had a feeling Haaland wouldn't start. So I kind of knew as well, if he didn't start, it would be a 0. It wasn't going to be a kind of a put him on the bench and he'd get 10 minutes. It was either he was going to start or he wouldn't be playing at all. So I said the safest thing was put him in the team, put the captain's armband on him, but vice captain Salah. And it all worked out fine. Pereira came off the bench, which is a grand first sub. And Salah was the obvious, playing Leeds at home, one of the worst teams in the league on form at the moment. That's a grand captain. So I was happy with that. And it worked out okay, a 7-pointer in a week where who else would have been a good? I think the other people who didn't captain Salah were on Kane, and he got 1 point. So I take that.
Saka, which I'll be getting into.
Saka,
10 minutes.
Yeah. Like, unless you had gone a little bit off. If you had most people don't have KDB now. If you had KDB and captained him, brilliant. If you captained Wilson and went completely kind of rogue and you're brilliant, you know what I mean? But sure, how many people did that? You know what I mean? So I was perfectly happy to get any kind of return from Salah in the circumstances. That was fine. Martinelli back in the points. It had been a quiet few weeks for him. He had started to kind of slow down on the points. So got his goal, got his clean sheet points. Happy to see him back amongst the points again. I think he's a hold, isn't he? He's, when you go onto your wild card after the World Cup, I don't think many will be letting him go for, we've all built up a lot of value in him now. And he's just for 6.8 million. He's returning kind of every second week. He's getting returns more or less on average, which is fine. Andreas, typical. The week I did have him in the team, did nothing. Every week he returns. He's sitting on my bench. 3-pointer from him with the clean sheet. Mitrovic was the unlucky one of the week. I watched that. That was the evening kickoff on the Saturday.
Shots.
Fulham, he had 10 shots on goal he had in the game. Some of them good, like, you hear 10 shots sometimes and they're wild efforts, but there was at least 3 of them were good chances that on another day he would stick away. I think he should have had a penalty. There was a foul on him in the box that they went to VAR, they checked it. Maybe I'm biased because I wanted the points, but I genuinely thought he was fouled in the box.
Well, then again, he could easily have been sent off because of that challenge he did right on someone's ankle.
It was a bit of a roller coaster ride, wasn't it, Andy? Like 10 shots on goal, could have had a penalty, could have been sent off. So, didn't work out the worst. He got a yellow card, so he's now one of the people on 4 yellow cards. Just people should keep an eye on that for the next couple of game weeks. And then Jesus, again, I have a feeling in the next few weeks he's going to pop a massive score up because they played Forest, they won 5-0. He got 2 assists. Again, had 2 or 3 really. He just gets into goal. Now, he's not a good finisher. That's the thing about him. But he's consistently getting into these goal-scoring positions, and I think it's only a matter of time before he bangs in a hat-trick against someone, and he's going to just... So again, as far as I'm concerned, I think I just hold on to him. I think he's just, he's steady in that he's involved so much that there's a lot of assists coming his way. He will get the few goals, and I just think at some point he's going to explode and put up a monster score, and he's so highly owned. If you don't have him that week, it's going to absolutely destroy your rank, So I'm nearly keeping him based on his ownership more than anything.
It's a bit frustrating to watch him because, I was watching this game and it was like the commentators were just getting like, he's never scoring today. It's just not happening for him. But I was like, well, it kind of is still happening for him from an FPL point of view. I know he's got the 2 assists and I think he was on the 2 bonus at that point. But yeah, I mean, this is just the type of player I think he is. Like, it was the same at City, wasn't it? It's like he went to Arsenal. I think maybe some expected him to be like this talisman Mitrovic type, which is just not the type of player he is. He might as well be a midfielder. He's Saka, he's Martinelli, he's the equivalent to them in FPL terms, isn't he? He's taken up a forward slot, but he's gonna take over, isn't he? He's gonna always be involved, and if they're gonna keep getting these high score lines, and especially with the options right now, he's still a keeper.
Yeah. The funny thing about that Arsenal match was I had been down in Waterford with my daughter that day, so I was listening to it on the radio. And unfortunately, radio commentators are not FPL friendly. So they're telling you who scored all these goals, but they're not saying who got these. Like some of them, during the course of the commentary, they'll say, "Oh, that was a great pass by whoever." But the FPL assist where like it comes off a fella's leg and it's an assist, or and it's like I'm like, who got the roaring at the radio? Like, and I'm like, Jesus, should I take my phone out here on the motorway doing 120 and have a quick look at the FPL app and see if I got any more points? It's like radio commentary is not conducive to FPL whatsoever.
I'm picturing you on the touchline with flag in one hand. Look at it. It's like there's an episode of The League, we were talking about it with Chris. It's like it's a group of lads who play fancy football, but it's NFL. Right. And like one of them's like a funeral, and he's just trying to sneak a little look every now and then just to see what's going on. That's us. That's the life of an FPL manager, isn't it? No matter where you are, you want to know.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think all in all, good week for you. Though. I feel like it's a good
delighted.
Nico on the bench. Can't learn about Ward. Yeah, it's a good squad you got going there. I'm looking forward to finding out what your transfer plans might be going forward as well. But yeah, we'll go over to my team. I think I'm up next. I'm with 58 points, 766 in total. Like I say, Pope's worked out pretty well for me as far as that double up with him and Trippier. Sung the praise of Trippier every week. He might have been an outside choke for captain on the form he's on. If you knew it was going to be a low scoring week, your floor's 6, your ceiling might be about 11, but he's probably going to come in, isn't he? Chances are. So it might have been a vice captain shout, but yeah, the only problem with that is that doing that double up now, and I'm sure Andy's got a deeper problem than that, is there's more than one attacking Newcastle player I want to get in now, and I don't know what I'm going to do to sort it out. But made up with that duo, you always love that when you look at the back line. 6 for the goalie and Pope, 6 for Ben White, 6 for Cancelo, 11 for Trippier. Nice bit of business I made up. I brought Ben White in of that trio of Saka, Foden, and Ben White. it's Ben White who's been the success story for him. He was purely an enabler. He was literally there to be the cheap defender that allowed me to afford the other two. But such as FPL. Andres Pereira, I'll take coming off the bench. That's what he's there for. He's gonna go down in FPL Legends, I think, at the end of the season as everyone's 12th man. Didn't captain Salah. I've lost the faith entirely with Salah, to be honest. At this point, he's not a 12, 13 million player in FPL terms anymore. You can have the conversation about real life, but it felt boring to go with him as captain. And going Saka, I think I'll borrow that phrase from you, James. I think it was probably the right decision and the wrong outcome.
Yeah.
If
I had Saka, I didn't have enough room for another Arsenal player. I'd have captained Saka if I had him.
Yeah, it was so disappointing to it was made up. He got the assist, and then 26 minutes in, he's off. And that's just FPL for you. But
and the guy who replaced him, got
Reece Nelson.
Those were Saka's chances. He would have scored those goals.
100%.
You know what I mean? That's the sickening thing.
The worst was, do you see the FPL account tweet 2 managers captained him? What's his name? I don't even know his name. What's his name?
Reece
Nelson. Yeah.
Did anyone know who that was before?
He's been around Arsenal for a while, but not nowhere near.
Carabao. He's a Carabao Cup player, basically, isn't he? At best, yeah.
That's it. So I can't complain. Like Saka was the right choice. I could have gone Martinelli, but wouldn't have ended much difference. And if your player plays 26 minutes and gets you an assist, and come off time, he was even in the bonus points. I knew that wasn't going to last based on how the game was going, but that was in itself. I was like, you know what, that's a moral victory. I'll take that. It wasn't a blank. So, and really, at the end of the day, Salah got a full 90, and there's a 3-point swing in that. So not the worst decision to get wrong. Martinelli on 8, same as you, James. You're very happy with him, not going anywhere, and I don't think he'll be right in my team through the winter. Foden, Mr. Disappointment. I think I've got to, when we get to transfers, got a big question with Foden. I want De Bruyne, but I can't get De Bruyne because, again, 3 City. I might have to do some higgledy-piggledy shuffling around, depending on if we hear anything about Foden, because if he does play, great option. It's just that's the big question right now. And up front, Mitro, unlucky as you said, Jamesy, and Jimmy Tony there. Got his 90 minutes. We had him on the yellow card ticker last week, and the -1 for the yellow card was not only a -1, it was he's out for next week. So he's another part of the headache and the jigsaw I'm going to be trying to put together for next week, because really right now, what's the point in holding on to players who've only got 1 game when we've only got 2 game weeks to go before a big wild card. So big questions for me with the squad right now. But Nico on the bench with 1, didn't start, I don't believe. So let's hope he gets back in the team this week. Doherty is just taking up space at this point. If I had the transfer, he'd be gone by now. And Erling, same as everyone else. And I happened to be on. I happened to be online. I set my alarm to wake up to watch some YouTube content to find out the news that Haaland was gone. I think one thing I'll say with more time, because I still got up late and it was still 10 minutes before deadline. I wonder whether it's easy for me to say now, but with maybe a bit more time, would I have just moved Foden out last week? Would I have gone to an Almiron, or maybe it would have been a Rashford? I don't know. But lucky enough to even get the information, so you can't complain. And it was quite the scene. You missed out, James. You got skipping between Let's Talk FPL and James. I'll make James on Planet FPL. Just everyone panicking. Like both streams were just the lads looking at the phones trying to figure out their own team. Like the rest of you fucking fend for yourselves. I need to work this out right now.
It went down as well, didn't it?
The site crashed.
Yeah, dude. That was rough. I think that maybe I think that hurt a few people. It came back up again, didn't it, Andy? But it was like in those final 5.
Yeah, the last 10 minutes apparently. Yeah,
last couple of minutes. So like the Man City news come through. I think I was watching FPL Andy, and it come through on. He has a site he knows on Instagram. Like proper team news, 11:15, and it did come up like Foden not starting, Haaland not starting. He was like panicking. What do I do? And even myself, I was like, oh shit, I've got to put Foden on bench. I've got to get shut of Haaland now.
Yeah.
So get into that, but
I enjoy those moments though. It's fun when you get that.
Yeah,
I missed the deadline the hour before kickoff when it was more likely you get that information.
Yeah.
It's just adds
What
to
do
the
you?
chaos, doesn't it?
There has been a bit of talk about that on some of the podcasts this week about should they change the deadline. What do you think, lads? Like, is it fair that we can get info on the first game of the day, but info on none of the other games of the day? You know, or is that part of the fun? Or should, as some people say, should the deadline literally be kickoff? So it's just accepted that you will have the team sheet for the early kickoff, but everyone will have it, so it's fair. Or should it be the night before, and just take all that out of it? Should it be midnight the night before? I don't know what's right, because people across the world will say, "Well, fuck you!" Like we get up at 2 and we get up at 2 in the morning, like us watching pay-per-views in America. But we get up at 2 in the morning every weekend for the deadline. We set an alarm and get up out of bed and check everything, So it's you'll never please everyone with whatever solution you have,
I think it's a battle. It's a battle of like what it should be and what I want it to be. As a hardcore engaged FPL player, I want any advantage I can get. There's been many a game week like this week where everyone's looking at the Haaland training ground footage, or like those last game weeks of the season are great where it's like when it was an hour before kickoff and I'd be looking at like the team bus. Okay, who's getting off the bus? Who's actually there?
About the bus, weren't they? Like all possible pictures. Haaland's getting off a bus and. Is it a bus?
Was it an old picture or was it a new picture? That was the problem.
And there's like grainy ones where it's like it looks like that's him in the background. If you like look at the hair, it's they look like his boots. It's like, but that's as hardcore engaged players, like we live for that. So I prefer that chaos.
We all want an edge, don't we? Like
yeah. But if you look on like black and white and you're sat in FPL towers and trying to make the game as best it could be, maybe there is an argument for maybe another half an hour going back, and maybe it's a full 2 hours before kickoff or something like that. But
I still think there'd be info then as well, though. Would half an hour make a difference?
That's true. Yeah,
you'd probably still get a leak, and then you'd start getting the dodgy information. Then that's the problem. Then like you'd start getting info at 10 a.m. You're like, can I trust this or not? You know what I mean? And that's nearly the worst part of it when the trolls come out and start messing with people. You know what I mean? So I don't know like kickoff would be a good one. Just literally the first kickoff of the week. You'd have your team sheet for the first game. You'd have an hour to, there'd be no big rush. The site wouldn't crash because everyone would have a full hour to kind of make their decisions. But yeah, and also someone made the point. This only is relevant maybe 2 or 3 times a season because a lot of times the 12 o'clock kickoff is Wolves against Brighton, and it's like nobody's hanging on those team sheets. It's just because this week it happened to be Man City and it happened to be the best player in the game being injured for the first time since he came into the game. You know what I mean? So this isn't happening every week. It's only the very odd time. Like the last time it crashed there was chaos with COVID. Remember, like there was matches literally being called off. An hour before kickoff and stuff like that, So it is only very exceptional circumstances that these things happen as well. It's not happening on a weekly basis.
It's 1:30 this week, but usually the team news comes out about 2 o'clock, maybe 15 minutes before that. So it might be a time if you wanted to hang on the Man City news. But I know there's that lad on Twitter. I can't think of his name who usually predicts the lineup. Pretty spot on for City.
Luke, isn't it? Yeah. Well, he was wrong about Foden the last 2 weeks. So.
All right.
Yeah. That's how unlucky it was. Everyone just assumed he was playing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the killer. But I don't think, like you say, they'll never please everybody. So you're gonna get game weeks like this. And at the end of the day, I thought I had an edge, and it didn't work out anyway. So, but I think everyone who was smart, had Haaland captain and had a solid vice, or they went the route of Mr. Chips, and almost an inspired decision, Andy. You were later. You were there with me, 11 o'clock, making changes, mate, and you were true to form. Spent some points to get rid of early, and that was a bold move that a lot of people wouldn't have done, especially with the price, the money we've all got in Haaland. But it is actually something I'm seeing more like hard-nosed FPL contact creators like Praz from Burning Questions has been big on it this week as Haaland's price continues to tumble down. We're all protective of the money we got wrapped up in him, but really it's only going to go one way. So now that might even be a selling time if there ever was such a thing for Erling. But you were ahead of the curve, Andy. Good decision. Bad results,
Yeah.
unfortunately, because the man you brought in.
I know. The thing is, I actually had money spare, so I'd had enough money to swap like Kane in for Ireland out, Kane in. Yeah, it was disappointing, I would say, especially with Tottenham against Bournemouth. You expect Kane to maybe get one or two against them, but they really, Tottenham being Tottenham, innit? And well, our heat map mate got the winning goal, didn't he? Bentancur, a week too late.
The goals again, yeah.
A funny stat come up on Match of the Day where it said, "Oh, he's now reached his highest goal scoring season of 2." Prolific. He's not in his vocabulary. So yeah, my team. I got 64 points this week. It's a good. It's a good score, but it's a disappointing score, I will say. Say 4.2 million rank for the week. It's like, buddy, it sounds like I've had a shit week, but I probably haven't.
Eight of your players have returned there, like.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, how much more do I have to do to jump? Like,
Yeah, it's maybe my second or third highest scoring week. That 64 points, and it's above the average, as they say. Edison, 9 points. He got extra points for saves. He made 5 saves, and he's never usually like the saving machine, is he? What's he called from Leeds, Melier, who were just saving everything for the Liverpool shot.
He's usually a 6-point man, isn't he? Like it's either for Ederson, it's 6 or 1 usually, and no in between. Yeah, so to get 9 out of him is good going. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, even I was looking at when the transfers come for the wild card, just having a play about with my team.
Yeah.
I'm not getting rid of Edison. I think he's just nailed on. He's always a nailed on 6 points. Generally with City, they're a good defence. Well, my gamble, triple Newcastle defence. Just wow! I've got to say, I always think in my mind, I'm cursing it when I'm screenshotting 3 players in a row where I've got all the clean sheets. Obviously, Trippier got an assist. He's been great. We say it every week on here. We're like a broken record, aren't we, when we're going Trippier?
It looks great though, Andy. It really does. Just looking at that, those black and white shirts, 11-6-6. You got some doubters in the chat last week, Andy, but you really you better play off sometimes.
End of the day, I did say about Newcastle that they're an entertaining team to watch, and when watching them on Match of the Day, they're one team who don't want the World Cup because
they're great momentum at the moment.
Way they're playing. Even on the 10 minutes of highlights, what they show on Match of the Day, it's good to watch. Almiron scoring a bloody another worldie again,
and they were never in like that.
Where is he in our squads? No one's got him.
that match was that was the live. We get one live match over here on Premier Sports on a Saturday, and it was Newcastle Villa. So I watched it, and if you were watching it, Andy, you'd have been relaxed because it wasn't even one of those ones where they relaxed. They were 4-0 up, but they were still they were pinning Villa back in their own. Villa didn't get chances. The way a team can kind of be winning well and they can relax, or maybe do 5 subs and let in a goal or 2. It was. I was watching it and I wasn't nervous on your behalf whatsoever. It was just. They just held it. They're very good, solid team now. They're seeing out matches very professionally, and they're genuine candidates for the top 4. I think.
I think since Eddie Howe's come in, he has really shored up that defence because Newcastle have always been a team known as if you score 3, we'll score 4. It's always been the philosophy since the Kevin Keegan days that run hearts back to. Dan Burney was someone who I brought in a couple of weeks ago. He's always been a solid one in my draft team. I think I've got him still. Fabian Schär, 6 points. A bit went seeing the yellow flag. Like, oh fuck's sake! No, I've got. The thing is, now I want to keep me triple Newcastle for this week. I don't think I'm having the triple Newcastle defence because I've got yellow flag. But I think Benno said like we are thinking of attacking options as well for Newcastle now, which is your Almiron, even Joel Linton, your Callum Wilson. So it's deciding whether I want to sway away from a solid Newcastle defence to maybe what else to go from. But with Callum Wilson, I know I've seen some of the FPL YouTubers this week, and a lot are putting him in. But the thing in back of your head with Wilson, he gets injured a lot. When he's on the park, he does score goals. But
the question there is this the time though? When there's only 2 games, how wrong can it go? He's not a long.
It's 2 weeks. You're not buying him for months. Like
The thing is, even after Christmas, Isak might be back and taking his place.
Yeah, that's it.
Here we got Martinelli. So he scored in first 2 minutes, didn't he? Good return for him. Salah, I think from first minute, I thought, right, Liverpool looked very attacking against Leeds. They could easily have been 1-0 up after a couple of minutes. Got his goal, but God, Liverpool, they're so frustrating. Not more Salah, Darwin Núñez up front. If you've got him in your team, you'll be kicking the walls and everything inside with him. He just couldn't hit a cow's ass with a banjo, the lad.
What was Thierry Henry saying about him this week? Wasn't he ripping into him? Or was he praising him? Was it the other way around? I just saw a lot of people kicking off about what he said. Carragher posting clips of him and stuff. I think he was taking the piss.
Right.
Yeah,
but they're just very frustrating at the moment. Liverpool, I will say. Leeds give him a good game. What's he called? Jimmy Somerville, who got the winner. They were him and that 18-year-old lad from Italy who come on. He looked half decent.
He did look lively on the wing, yeah.
Yeah. Oh God, that idiot in midfield. Wilfred Zaha. Talking about the lad.
Is he gone, Andy? Is he gone? That's the big question.
Yes. He's gone. He's gone out of my life for 2 weeks now. Granit Xhaka, 3 points. It's decent enough. I think he was the only possible option from what was on the bench. I'll get into Cody in a minute. Harry Kane, like I said, disappointing. Jesus, nice 2 assists. He's always in and around the box. Shame he don't know how to put it into the goal, but he's always there and thereabouts. Mitrovic, we've said, 10 shots, nothing, but he's an hard worker. I think even with Man City this coming weekend, he'll cause them trouble. It just depends how much he'll cause them trouble, how much the ball actually gets up that end of the pitch for him. But he should do all right. Brentford, obviously, 1 point. Foden, I put him in the last 2 weeks, Anna, since he's played 23 minutes and 15 minutes, respectively. I'm keeping him in because, he's always an option he's a good option to have in. But you just got to pray that Pep's like, right, I'll stick you in this week, but who knows?
I'll be hoping for info this week, 100%. So I'll be there at the deadline, hoping there's something coming out.
Yeah. Who else on the bench? Joe Gomez. Got Joe Gomez, worst defender known to man. Why have I put him in? I don't know.
Where's he come from? Was he always in your squad? Don't remember.
Yeah, I've had him in the last, I think, last 4 weeks. No, last 3 weeks I've had him in. So he got that since because they've had a bit of an injury crisis, Liverpool. He's been playing centre half. So got me a good 6-pointer, but this past week against Leeds, he gave away the first goal. He were getting turned inside out. They think he might be dropped for that Canate soon. So
it's easy to fall into that, isn't it? When a good team's like missing players at the back, I get so and so for 4.2 million. But the reason they're playing is because they're much weakened, so it doesn't. Yeah, it's one of them. It can be false economy, can't it? But,
So
remember Shimikas last season?
Remember
we all started the season with him.
Yeah.
Because Robinson was out for a few weeks. It was only 4 million.
He ended up like 3.7, 3.8, didn't he? Like
Yeah.
he proper he crashed
Yeah.
from 4.
It's because everybody had him week 1 because he
Mm.
was a cheap way. We knew Robertson was out for a few weeks, so he was a £4 million way into Liverpool's defence. So like he had maybe 50% ownership, but then the minute Robertson came back, everyone sold him. So his price. So it was actually great because when you were on a wild card, you could put him in as your third defender and have lots of money elsewhere then because it was only 3.7 or something like
Yeah, that was an enabler.
I was going to say about the other defender I had, Connor Cody.
Oh yeah, Cody, yeah.
Everton, one of the most boring teams in the league going at the moment. They're not good. They're not good. Not good to watch, but they just don't concede at the moment. So I think they're good for maybe the next 2 weeks of keeping him in. I think they have got Wolves coming up, which
you could easily start him the next 2 weeks because their fixtures are some of the better fixtures that anyone has, really.
Yeah.
People are talking crazy, like taking a little leap of faith on Calvert-Lewin. That's how good the Everton fixtures are when we get into the fixtures in a minute. So
I think Chris has him, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, I was going to say, should we have a little poke at Chris
while
he's not here? Should we make fun of him? 49. Oh my god. What went wrong for him? Yeah, Almiron. He's the one.
Yeah, Almiron, yeah.
We talked about. So yeah, he got Kane. Kane was his vice. So similar story to you, Andy. Only had the one transfer that he made in the.
Perisic got an assist, didn't he?
What a troll!
Came off the bench, he got an assist.
Yeah.
More trolling.
Oh, he looked great though. Like he looked like a whale beater when he came on. It was like God. Like I don't think it's going to translate to FPL points, but like he is a great player. It's just...
He's a really good. Maybe that's the way to use him. Just 30 minutes off the bench because like he's 34 or 35, and he's come from Italy. He's come from Italy, which is a far slower pace than the Premier League. Like so, in fairness to him, maybe super sub 30 minutes in games is the way to use him. You know.
Yeah.
With Chris's team there, it's just like the odd couple of players here and there. It's similar to me, Zaha, Kane, and Zaha, Kane, and Foden, who've like done him over.
Yeah, it doesn't look much different than us, does it? Really, in general, it's the same story. Maybe
he doesn't have Trippier.
No,
he still doesn't have Trippier, which has probably cost him. Like Trippier is up at 70% ownership, I think now. So like if he's doing well, and everyone else has him, that's going to hurt him as well. You know, that kind of a way.
But I know Chris is looking for like trying to do something different, which you sort of have to do with
trying to get an edge. Yeah.
Hey, that transfer he made Tony out to Calvert-Lewin, that could have paid if Calvert-Lewin knocked one in. Tony's out next game. Not a bad little decision, is it? You know,
that's the thing. Like a lot of the YouTubers were like tipping Calvert-Lewin. It's either Calvert-Lewin, Dominic Solanke, or Callum Wilson that they're all tipping at the moment of that up front lot. But yeah, I think he had a couple of chances of what Everton did have going forward.
Only way's up for Chris. I'm sure he'll be back next week with a score in 90 or something like that. Putting us all to shame. There we go. Not a standout week for anyone, but it was like I watched FPL Black Box before, and they were literally going. You know, they have that great and good league, which is all of these like legendary FPL players, people who've done well year over year. As Girl69 at X1V posted that photo in our chat. Great to see you again, Girl696. They were saying like there's a whole like league there where like all of these legendary players, pretty much all of them got a red arrow this week. Like all of these people who know what they're doing when it comes to FPL. It was just one of those weeks for the engaged managers, for the the people you would expect to come off. It just didn't come off, and that's maybe that's a scored shirt Haaland cut leaves behind. But I was going to say anything notable from the rest of the results? Any players we haven't talked about?
Brighton's the one in it. Who's it scored again? Leandro Trollard.
Trollard, yeah.
Gross as well, the fucker.
Yeah.
At least I
yeah. Matoma, IWC Matoma. We were talking about him a few weeks ago.
Assist as well.
Yeah.
They were up 3-0 quite early on, weren't they, James?
Yeah. It was a shocker from Chelsea. Like I can't make them out at the moment at all, Chelsea. Like Potter's had a nice run of results, but then you see this result and it's like, Jesus, what's happened there, you know? And from an FPL point of view, I think you have to steer clear of Chelsea at the moment, like because traditionally Chelsea defenders have always been quite good. Like under Tuchel, they were always really solid, and they'd get multiple clean sheets in a row. But like he picks a different defense every week at the moment. You know what I mean? So you can't nail that down. You wouldn't have any of their midfielders, and their front line is a bit of a mess. You wouldn't go Sterling.
Aubameyang, Sterling. That you don't know whether
you wouldn't go. Mount was always a good player, but he's not done much this season either. You know, so I think Chelsea are
a bit of a non-entity.
They're just there. You know, they're going to be around about the top four. But yeah, I think the squad's a bit of a mess, isn't it? Like they badly need a centre forward more than anything. I think just a focal point in attack to build the rest of the team around. Yeah, and as Lindsay says there in the chat, Rudiger, massive loss. He was a brilliant defender.
I was going to say one of the big tips on the YouTube channels is Man United defenders, Jamesy, like your Martin, your Dallo, and even Luke Shaw's sort of to people's
I saw a stat earlier that United haven't conceded a goal from open play in 12 hours, 45 minutes of football. I think it's 8 games. Like, so they have conceded goals, like they conceded a penalty against Chelsea. And bear in mind, some of those games are Europa League games against teams from Cyprus, 2 or 3 of them, but still they have definitely shored things up at the back. I think Dallo is a nice pick. I probably won't have room for him before the World Cup, but definitely if you look at the fixtures after the World Cup, United have a really nice run in the first 6, and I think Dallo's 4.6. I think he'd be a brilliant player not even to play him every week, but to have him as your first or second sub. I think would be, and I think he'll be very popular on the wild cards when people actually sit down and look at the fixtures. You know.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's the thing. That's like, there's merit in that, and I think United are going to be a team that went onto the Sky Sports website by mistake. United are going to be a team people are going to be getting behind for these last 2 weeks when we get to the fixtures. Other than that, I'm trying to think Newcastle knocking 4 past. We've kind of covered them. Quite interesting to see City with only the 1 goal. Would have been that would be the story of the season if Ward had managed to get a clean sheet.
Another clean sheet.
What a turnaround!
It was only a free kick. Like they didn't score from play against them, basically. Brilliant free kick, but apart from that, they kept them out. So
does that worry you if Haaland doesn't play this week? I mean, everyone's. I know they're playing Fulham at home, so probably it will be 5-6-0. But they're not on the beach. But like you said earlier about the World Cup coming up, a lot of their players just seem to be like, let's just get through these last couple of games and get through it. They're going to win the league. They're probably going to win the league no matter what. So might as well cruise through these fixtures, and be easy looking fixtures on paper might not necessarily be a couple of 8-0 wins. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, speaking of those fixtures, we only have the 2 weeks left before the end of this half of the season. I was going to say, anybody stand out? It's always City at the top, at least as far as go. Fulham and Brentford at home. Like I say, there is still that. Even if Haaland's not fit, there's going to be a lot of investment in City this week. They have West Ham near the top, Forest near the top as well. Not so sure on Forest. Newcastle are maybe a team I'm keeping an eye on, that they've got kind of a mid-table as far as the upcoming fixtures go. But yeah, as far as the last 2 go, any standouts for you two lads?
I think if you had to change a defender, or if you had a defender out injured, someone like Cresswell from West Ham wouldn't be a bad pick just for the 2 weeks. I think he's 4.7 or something like that.
He's cheap. Penalties and free kicks he takes as well.
Yeah, and they're back to being solid. Like West Ham were a bit ropey defensively in the first few weeks. They're back to being like they were really solid against United there on Sunday. Like United were lucky enough to get out of it with a 1-0 win. So they're always like, and you would imagine there might be a clean sheet in there. Crystal Palace, 2 home games, Crystal Palace, Leicester, might be a chance. He takes corners, he takes free kicks, he gets forward and puts crosses into the box. So might be a nice little pick there. When we talk about transfers, I talk about Scamacca as well, and I think we have some stats about him. Yeah. Everton, I'd have no problem if somebody lumped on an Everton player. Leicester at home, Bournemouth away.
I'd say Bournemouth as well. They'd probably be an option for people.
Leeds away, Everton. Like, there's nothing wrong with picking Solanke for those 2 weeks. You know what I mean? It's as good a set of fixtures for a striker as you're going to get, really. And from an Everton, the Calvert-Lewin punt, I wouldn't mind that whatsoever. I wouldn't mind Gordon, even Iwobi. You know, or have someone like Cody that you have. Like, I'd be seriously if you have one of your normal starting. If you didn't want to play your 3 Newcastle players, Andy, you could stick Cody in for one of them, no problem. They're nice fixtures as well.
You've read my mind, James.
Yeah. And you have Share on the yellow, so just pop him out. You know.
I was going to say as well, Brighton, they've got Wolves away, but Wolves are dreadful. Who's it got sent off? Diego Costa, and they've got Aston Villa at home. Yeah. I put your man in, Trossard. He'll probably do bugger all like the 2 weeks. But we're
not doing that again, are we? We're not playing that game. It could work out though. You know, hey, Gross worked out for me in the draft this week. I can't complain too hard. Yeah, I've seen a lot of Bournemouth investments as well, like you say, with Solanke. That could be a potential one. But yeah, as far as like individual players we've got our eye on, we've got no Stato this week in Chris Linney, but Jamesy, you dreamed up some possible comparisons for us. I'll load them up now. We've got a few of the ones that people are looking at. As far as people are looking at transfer wise, it's going to be I think a lot of like hard decisions on this particular game week. I mentioned it before. For me, if I'd have had 10 minutes more, I would have been considering these two men, Almer and Rashford. As far as the first one goes, I wish I'd gone early on one of those two, but I think around the same price, and they're going to be options a lot of people are going to be considering.
Yeah, I just thought these two because I think a lot of people will have somebody like a Zaha in their team. And, you know, like all of us might be sick of him at the moment. He's 7.4 or something like that. So if you sell him and you don't have much in the bank, you don't have enough to maybe get up to an 8 million player like a Maddison or a Foden or a Saka or something like that. So you're kind of having to shop in the 6-ish million or less kind of bracket. You know what I mean? And I think if you were getting rid of him, I would say these two guys are a nice kind of an option. We should talk about Almiron. I know you said you were listening to Black Box earlier and they had a really interesting conversation about, like, is this just a flash in the pan? Is this going to be a 6 to 8 game run where he shoots the lights out, gets loads of points, and then reverts back to what he was? Like, and the thing with him is that there's 3 years of evidence to say that he's a pretty average footballer. You know what I mean? That, you know, has been derided in many corners for his quality of football, but there's a long history of where you would never have dreamt of putting Almiron in your FPL team at any point in the last 3 years until now. But now it's like, you know, do you just ignore the stats and do you just say it? Because the thing about the goals he's getting is he's not going to be able to keep scoring goals this good. He's scoring a goal of the month contender every week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Volleys from outside the box. He's beaten 2 men and not going to pass the keeper from a tight angle. That's not reproducible. And like no player in the world can keep doing that every week. You know what I mean? But is it 5.6 million at the moment?
Yeah.
Do you need your 5.6 million midfielder to score it every week? Or would you be happy with a goal every 3 weeks? You know what I mean? And if you did keep him on your wildcard team, you don't need him to be getting the figures of it. Like at the moment, in the last 6 weeks, he's getting the figures of a Mohamed Salah at his best. Yeah. You know what I mean? You don't need him to keep doing that because he's less than half the price of Mohamed Salah. You know what I mean? If he had the form of a good £8 million midfielder at the moment and kept that going, you'd be happy. You know, so I think if you're looking at him, there's 2 weeks left now. Newcastle have reasonable fixtures. Why not get on it? You know what I mean? And you can rethink it then during the winter and think, do I want him long term? But for 2 more weeks, why not try and get on the wave before it kind of breaks? You know,
that's the problem. It's whether it has broke. I mean, if it,
is it too late?
It feels like one of those classic FPL ones where you're chasing the points that have already happened.
Yeah,
like you chase. Like I'm just it's remorse from not getting them last week, not getting them the week before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then again, Newcastle's fixtures are very, very solid. I saw, like you say, I saw the black box bit where Mark and Az were talking about comparing him to, to Wilson, who, yes, he has his injury issues, but while he's fit, much more, consistently scoring in the, the level of points he's getting here compared to Almiron. But it doesn't. On the counterpoint, it does feel a bit more when Gundogan started flying last year.
Yeah.
And it took literally about 10 weeks of him doing it before people went, all right, fine, we'll get him in. Because everyone was like, he's Gundogan. He can't keep this up. That's not the type of player he is. And he was that player. Yeah. And we were, a lot of people got on early, but a lot of people, myself included, got on really late and kind of ended up missing the points. And yeah, in a normal season, as we've said a couple of times, if there wasn't a break coming up, I probably would take that tact. I'd take maybe it's a defeatist attitude, but I'd just be like, they're gone now. But it's 2 weeks. It's a 2-week punt. He's chief on my considerations this week. If I don't find a way to maneuver Foden to De Bruyne, or I could actually, use him in a way to get me there. Yeah, he's probably chief among my targets. Rashford on the other, Rashford was the other one. Rashford was definitely, saw a lot of transfers in for him this week. Didn't you get an interesting draft offer for him this week, Andy, in the draft league last year? Wasn't there a dodgy deal done under the table with him?
Yes, there was. After the show last week, Chris Elliott, I gave him Rashford and he gave me Mo Salah. So yeah,
what a trade! And it's in face value, because Gareth was kind of like, that's ridiculous.
Oh yeah,
Gareth, but actually,
any other season it's ridiculous, but.
When I saw Gareth on Tuesday night, you're like, I can't believe what Chris Elliott was thinking with that. But I was like, this season they're generally just both as good as each other, aren't they?
Yeah. I think if I was you, someone offers you Salah, you on reputation, you snap their hand off, don't you?
Like a pig
but
in
actually, this is wild. Yeah.
I was.
I don't know. If I could. I wouldn't turn it down, but at the same time, I might have a little bit of remorse. Let's see what happens. At least for the next couple. But yeah, Rashford's looking great, isn't he, James? You've got your eye test wise. You got your eye on him.
He hasn't looked himself for the last 12 months, maybe, but he finally got a good rest in the summer. I think they tailored his training to let him kind of do individual work. He just looks sharp anytime I see him play. Like, a lot of the time he's playing center forward. So basically you've got a midfielder for, what is he, 6.5 million or something like this? 6.5 million midfielder who's playing as a striker for a team that's challenging for top 4. So, when you put it in those terms, and he is getting his goals, you know what I mean? And he looks sharp, and he scored a great header at the weekend, which is something that wouldn't normally have said was in his toolbox. So he's improving as a player. He's adding kind of more strings to his bow. To go back to the Salah thing, if you were to place a bet with someone right now, who's going to score more goals before the end of the season? You don't, like any other season, you'd say Salah straight away. But the over-under on that would be fairly tight. It's not you wouldn't be shocked if Rashford scored more goals than him between now and the end of the season. You really wouldn't.
Plus as well, United are short on attacking options, aren't they? I think Sancho's out and Martial's always in and out with injuries.
Yeah,
that's why Ronaldo's been getting a look in.
Yeah,
unbelievably, yeah.
So Rashford will play every week, So and if you look just at the maps we've put up there as well, Rashford's stats are actually, I was wondering, would they be a little bit better than Almiron? And a lot of the expected goals and stuff that Almiron has, they're quite low because his shots he's scoring 1 in a million goals. You know what I mean? If he tries to score most of those goals again, he'll never hit those shots as well in his career again. You know what I mean? Whereas Rashford is scoring more reliably. He's scoring strikers' goals. He's finishing off chances. He's scoring headers in the box, that kind of thing. So you would kind of imagine that over the course of a long run in the season, Rashford would score more goals than him. So yeah, just thought that they were an interesting comparison, and they would be the two if you were looking to get rid of even if you're looking to get rid of Foden, if you were sick of Foden and didn't want to worry about his starts anymore, I think both of those guys are nice options to replace him. And it would leave you with a few bob in the bank. It's if you were going to do a -4, you could sell Foden for either of those and have a couple of million in the bank to move to someone else. So they're nice enablers as well. That's the other thing.
Easy. Yeah, giving me food for thought now. I was set on Almiron, but I've got the money. Like, that's the other thing. I've got no worries for money right now.
No, none of us do at the moment, yeah.
Salah's going, yeah.
You getting rid of Salah, Benno, yeah?
Yeah, I just think there's more. When I get to it, there's just so much I can do with that money. As much as I say that, there's loads of money around. Even more money's always better, isn't it? Even more money, but he could be De Bruyne, and that's probably where my mind
that's
is
the thing.
right
and
now.
like, if you can easily, because I've been thinking about Salah to De Bruyne, and then obviously you need rid of a City player, so get rid of Foden, and there's your two options there. Well, you probably would have enough for an 8 million player if you're going Salah to De Bruyne. But of all the 8 million options, I don't know if Almiron or Rashford are just as good for 2 weeks as well. You have to remember, these are 2-week punts. You don't need these guys in your team for the next 6 months or 6 games or 10 games. It's a 2-week punt. Someone like Rashford can bang in a hat-trick, no problem, playing centre forward for United easily. You know,
I think the only other one at around 8 million markers is your Jared Bowen and your Mason Mounts, and they're very much in and out of form. So yeah, as James he said, them two are probably better options at the moment.
Being aggressive, I think that's the lesson these last 2 game weeks. Playing steady and easy is great on a long season, but basically this is the end of the season coming up.
This is the chance to go for it. Yeah.
Go for it. People do, don't they? Game week 36 to 38, people start throwing shit at the wall.
Yeah.
I don't see why it's different now. It's the same. Yeah. But yeah, speaking of those two men, Foden and De Bruyne, that's where my eye is going. And yeah, if you look at that as for me, it's almost going to be a like-for-like transfer, because Salah to Rashford or Almiron are basically the same level of play at this point. And Foden to De Bruyne, like, look at that golfing quality there. Just looking at the blue and the red there, mate, in the graph.
I would say with De Bruyne especially, when I had him in before I stuck Salah back in over the last 2 weeks, just loads of assists more than goals.
Creation.
He's number one.
And you can see it on the map there. Like, he's miles ahead of Foden for expected assists, chance created, crosses into the box, through balls, passes in the final third. Foden is a little bit more of a goal threat. You can see he's had more, but not much. Like, he's not much ahead of him, really, And like, the thing that you're getting, I suppose, well, I say this now and I probably put a jinx on him. The thing you're getting as well with De Bruyne is, I think he's fairly nailed on to play at least this weekend, because he had a rest. He did come on as a sub for 20 minutes during the week, but I'd be fairly sure Pep would start him. Like, Pep's been raving about him lately, about being a player he's had for 7 years and blah, 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 and all this. So that's the other thing. You don't have to worry about Foden. So, like, I know it's a -4 late in the season, but that switch from Salah to De Bruyne and then move Foden onto someone else it's a nice, tasty move to make, I think. And you're buying certainty. And like, the reason I put the comparison up is you're not getting a worse player by any means than De Bruyne. Like, you're getting the possibility of assists. You have a slightly less goal threat, but and De Bruyne is such a reliable asset. Like, he's years and years in the game. He's always been a high scorer. We all remember that game week towards the end of the season last year where he went mental, and I think JP had him as triple captain. Did he score 4 goals and 1 assist or something crazy like that? So there's always that potential with De Bruyne that he can explode, and he's playing very high up the pitch this season as well. Like, they're very much back to, like, last season. For long parts of the season he was kind of playing in a deeper double pivot and he wasn't getting enough points, but this season he's right up there on the edge of the box. I think they want him close to Haaland to try and be the one feeding in passes and through balls to him all the time. So, and like, if anything, Haaland being fit for the weekend is another reason to go for De Bruyne, I think, because those two have a great relationship. And De Bruyne feeding passes through to Haaland and if you have both of those guys, like, how many chances of a goal plus assist can you get from 2 players? So. Yeah, I'm talking myself into getting rid of Salah and going for. I have been up in the air, but the more I think about it, that -4 is very attractive, very attractive.
Jamesy, as well, around that price point of De Bruyne, if you're wanting to get shut of Salah. So, Son in the past day or two has got like an eye injury.
Yeah.
So he could be out up until like the World Cup. So he's not an option now for anyone fancying a Tottenham.
And I was thinking about him. I was thinking about Son as a punt because I was kind of thinking everybody's forgotten him. They have Liverpool next, and then they have a nice fixture. They have 2 home games. You'd fancy Son to get a return against Liverpool's high defensive line. So I was thinking about him, and now he's off the table. So
they've no attacking midfielders now, have they? Kuzmalevski's injured, Richarlison's injured, Son's injured. They're left with Lucas Moura. Perisic might get in up on left wing now.
I was actually going to say, if you had Perisic, there's a strong chance he'll play in the front 3 this weekend, which, you have a defender who gets 6 points for a goal playing in the front 3. So, if you have him, stick him, even though it's Liverpool, I'd stick him in my team and hope for the best.
Just to throw an extra thing in there and an extra feather in there, De Bruyne's cap. If you're someone to look at effective ownership, if you're considering, these players aren't going to get me anywhere because everyone's got them. De Bruyne's effective ownership right now, 35% in the game. Sure, that's going to go up this week. A lot of people are going to be eyeing this move up, but to put that into context, Salah's on 43. Yeah. So he's more of a differential than Salah is at this point in the season.
And a lot of people won't want to make the -4. This like a lot of the content creators that I've been listening to say, don't take hits this close to the end of the season. It's not worth it. Save your points, but and the other benefit to De Bruyne is if Haaland is ruled out, he's by far the best captaincy option this week. Aside from City players, the captaincy option, we will look at it later on. I'm sure we bring the fixtures up. The captaincy options this week are very, very slim. There's no outstanding option, and I think the next best one in the game is KDB. And if you take a -4 for him, but you captain him, you make your points back pretty quickly. So there's a lot of pros to it.
I might make the deal. I might make the transfer now. You've told me get my phone up. Be like,
I was thinking as well. With captain options, apart from De Bruyne, was Kieran Trippier against Southampton away. That's a good solid one.
Put our money where our mouth is. The only other comparison you've thrown up, James, you did mention Samaka before, and our mate Callum Wilson. It's looking quite tight between those two, and I think a lot of people are going to be in that market, aren't they? With Tony out, with Mitrovic having City away, people are going to want a striker. That's the other thing for me. If I make that move, De Bruyne, Salah, and I'm moving all those pieces, I'll end up spending a -4 to fix my strike situation because I'm not fancying starting Mitrovic away to City, although he could squeeze one, and Tony's out. So Wilson and Wilson's chief among my options, and I'm really considered Schumacher.
Yeah, that's why I kind of thought of these two, putting them up, because I think there'll be a lot of people wanting to move on either Tony or Mitrovic or both for the reasons you said, Benno. And Scamacca, I was kind of mapping my plans out 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I kind of had earmarked Mitrovic to Scamacca for this week. But I watched the United game on Sunday, and he was very poor. Could have been sent off, actually. And he got hauled off at 65 minutes. And that's the big issue with Scamacca is they have Antonio on the bench. And David Moyes loves Antonio. So, he whoever starts out of those two gets an hour, and then the other guy gets 30 minutes, 25, 30 minutes each time. And that's the problem with Scamacca. His minutes aren't going to be brilliant, And I kind of, when I saw the United game, I kind of shied away from Scamacca a little bit. If I don't do that -4, I think my move will be Mitrovic to Wilson. I just think safe, solid move. You're buying a very, very good striker who's in form, great track record in the game, couple of nice fixtures, playing for a team that's really good. I think a lot of people already who own Tony have already made that move. I think Wilson's ownership has gone up quite a lot. I think he's the most bought in player, I think, of the week I saw somewhere. So I think either of those, Tony or Mitrovic to Wilson, will be a very common and sense, they say, make the obvious moves, pick the weak spot in your team for the week. I think bringing in Wilson, he's got the bit between his teeth at the moment. I think he would love to get on that plane to Qatar as well. That's the other thing. They were talking him up on Match of the Day an awful lot about being the next best striker option behind Kane. So he has a reason to kind of really try hard in the next few weeks, whereas there's a lot of people who might be already on the plane who might be taking it easy for worry of getting an injury. He's a guy who's going to be going hell for leather. And if you look at the stats there, he's well cleared of Scamacca in most of the important kind of stats, expected points, expected goals, big chances. Wilson scores tap-ins, basically. Most of his goals are easy finishes, but that's not a bad thing for FPL because that's a really reproducible, reliable source of goals. Like you would much rather the player who scores a tap-in than the guy who's scoring from 30 yards because tap-ins are something you can do on a regular basis, whereas shots from that far out happen once in a blue moon, So I just think if you're looking for a steady, solid transfer, one of your 2 strikers who's on 4 yellows to Wilson, nothing at all wrong with it.
So the only thing stopping me is that barrier of only being allowed on 3 Newcastle because it's him or Almiron for me. That's the other comparison point. But yeah, he again seems a no-brainer for the last 2 weeks. But yeah, there's an argument for Schumacher as well. I've seen people go in other places, but yeah, there's nothing else that excites me really.
Calvert-Lewin is the other one, and then a lot of people who don't have Jesus are going from Mitrovic or Tony back onto Jesus. But the yellow cards is the other thing. Jesus is on 4. Kane is on 4 as well, actually. If people are thinking of bringing him in, just bear in mind he's on 4 yellows as well. So, that's the other thing that people have to remember. What about if you could bring in one of Wilson or Almiron? Which would you bring in? If you had 2, say most people have 2 Newcastle already and they desperately want to get in on the attack, would you go Wilson or Almiron if you had the choice?
If it's just 1-for-1, Almiron. But those figures you just gave us for Rashford, and just the idea that I could this week will bring in De Bruyne, Rashford, and Wilson, that combination suits me better. 1-for-1, though, I think it'd be Almiron if I had to pick between the 2. I don't know about you, Andy.
I think what you just said then sounds like a good option. Rashford would very much be that alternative to everyone else who wants to just bring in Almiron.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like I said, like Trossard again would be an option.
Yeah.
He's still like 6.9. Now, how much money have you got left, Benno? And have you got any like free transfers?
I've got 8. We'll go to the teams in a sec, but I've got two free transfers, and I think just about enough money to do it. We'll have a play. We'll see. I'll bring my team up live. We'll see if it's possible or not possible. Let's do that live. And yeah, we mentioned captaincy as well. We might as well talk both there. This is your lot of, but we got up on the screen here, isn't it, Jamesy?
That's my team. Yeah.
Captaincy is sitting on Haaland at the minute. Is that the way you're looking to go? Will your moves inform that?
There was pictures on Twitter today of Haaland taking part in training. So I'm pretty sure he's going to start. I think he's going to be fit. He's going to start. So if he starts, Fulham at home. You don't have him, Andy. Is that why you're making faces?
I don't have him anymore. No.
Oh, that was the thing. So when you got rid of him, were you saying in your head, "I'll just get him back next week," or were you hoping? Were you hoping he'd be out for a few weeks, and that was your kind of rationale? Or
I think my thinking is that he'll probably just come off the bench like this week, and he'll be back for the final week. That's when I could probably get him back. But yeah, so seeing them pictures today, I was like, oh crap.
I tell you, Andy, not having him is a painful experience for the game week. I tell you,
I've got 3 Man City players with Foden, De Bruyne, and Edison, so and they're all points getters when they are on the pitch. So it's just it's a thing of wait and see.
And so who you got? Like that's the interesting. You have the biggest dilemma. I presume you'll just captain Haaland as well. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. It's going to depend. I want more news. It was almost bad news.
If you knew he'd start, would you captain him?
Yes, 100%. 100%. I mean, because that, like you said before, looking at your team, there were the other options there.
That's the dilemma Andy has. Like, who does he captain now? Because he doesn't have Haaland. So who are you going to go for, Andy?
I captained Kevin De Bruyne.
Oh, you've KDB. Right. Well, then, he's the next. I think if you, that's the next best option.
Yeah, the thing is, like Chelsea and Arsenal are playing each other, Tottenham and Liverpool are playing each other. So it rules out like the big sides, and the only ones who've got easy games, you would say on paper, are Newcastle and City. And City at home, as ever, I always say, they'll always score more than 3 goals at home.
And Fulham are ropey.
It's such a ridiculous record what they've got of like 3 or more goals. Just get your money on over 3.5 goals on the betting side.
Because Fulham games are always high scoring anyway. Like when they win, it's always like 3-2. It's never 3-0 or 1-0. It's always score more than the opposition. Like so, like if City get an early couple of goals in this, you better hide behind your couch, Andy, because it could get very scary for you.
old crap Haaland's coming off the bench for about 2.
He's like it's Poochie in The Simpsons, isn't he? Even when Haaland's not playing, we're talking about Haaland. It's just like every decision we're making.
He crashed the website when he wasn't playing. Fucker.
Like,
he broke the game.
Like I was going to say then, like the thing about it is like seeing that, seeing that he's in training again, presumably, like that's almost bad news. Like when I knew he was out, it was like, okay, I know what I'm doing now. Now that there's that bit of doubt, I don't know. I think if there's any chance he plays, you captain him and you
it just takes you back to that first week, doesn't it, with Haaland or Kane and the week before with the Charity Shield, and Haaland didn't have a great game, putting doubt in your head like, oh, I'll leave him out, and then he scored 2 and Kane did bugger all. So you think once you've been burnt once, you don't want to get burnt again by him, because he's I think he said he's broke the game.
It's the same logic as last week, isn't it? It's like, I'm sure you were thinking it, James. If you captain him, even if he's on the bench, he's not coming on against Fulham. They're not going to be losing 4-0 to Fulham and they need a goal from Haaland. He's either going to play and score 4, or he's not going to play at all, and it'll go to your vice. Like it's pretty much a no-brainer.
Or he has it in him to score 2 or 3 in 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's it. There you go.
Pep actually likes to keep players ticking over as well. Like he will do. Like the other night, they were winning in a nothing match in Europe. They were 2 or 3 up, and he brought De Bruyne on anyway. So his kind of way of keeping players is he likes to keep them ticking over and giving them a little bit of minutes. So like they could be 3 up against Fulham, and he could bring them on. And he'll come on mad for goals. He'll be kind of feeling like, I've lost out on 2 or 3 games here. I wanted to set records here. I'm going to remind everyone why I'm Erling Haaland, So, like, it wouldn't work. If you said to me, he'll get 30 minutes, I'd probably still captain him, to be honest with you, because what he can do in 30 minutes when a game is opened up against a team that's wrecked, because the way City play, you spend an hour chasing them around the pitch. They wear you out. Spaces open up. And then you bring him onto the pitch. If you said to me he's guaranteed 30 minutes, I'd probably still captain him, because the damage he can do in those 30 minutes is phenomenal. Yeah,
I think that's the call. I think that's the call with him. But yeah, it's he's the main character in FPL. That's just what it is. We're all gonna kind of take that goal forward. But while we've got your team up, Andy, any other moves you've made so far or anything? I noticed it's not say like Charles on your bench now. Cody's coming to the start in 11. How's the chips feeling this week?
Yeah, so I got rid of Zaha, put Trossard in. They've got Wolves, so hopefully he does turn up for me, unlike he did last time. De Bruyne has come in now. Salah's gone out. They're the only 2 moves at the moment, but obviously, like last week, there was that Ireland news, and it's like, oh crap, I've got to take I didn't have to take another -4, but he was just
you had to take one. The voices in my head told me.
No, but the thing was last week, a lot of them big teams had like quite nice fixtures on.
Yeah, it was a nice week.
Yeah. Kane against Bournemouth. That's probably a good option to put in. But only doing the -4. Shame that Shah's on the bench, but as James said earlier, it's just nice. Put Cody in his place. Yeah, just see.
I'll probably move him up above Gomez in your subs, just in case, because if he does play on the off chance, it's Southampton away, isn't it? Like you probably want to play.
I don't think Gomez will start. I think Konate played in Europe beside Van Dijk on Tuesday night, so I'd stick Gomez third. Yeah, I definitely would.
Yeah.
I think that's the shout. But yeah, back to your lot, Jamesy. Yeah, was there anything else you were thinking? Obviously, if De Bruyne potentially coming in there for you, any other moves you thinking of making? Nico, interesting. Would you not
say that again?
Nico Williams, third sub. If he plays, Brentford haven't got Tony.
Yeah, the problem is I can't be sure Nico Williams starts anymore. Like he was dropped. He's in and out and that kind of thing. He's been playing left back. Aurier has kind of taken over his slot at right back. And now they have that guy, Renan Lodi, back playing left back. So at the moment, I don't think Nico Williams is first choice for them. I did take Ben White. I'm still kind of a bit humming and hawing. Brighton have, like, if there was to be 1-0 all draw in the game week this week, you would have to say Brighton against Wolves might be it. Two kind of goal-shy teams. So I think Dunk is a better pick for this week than Ben White, playing Chelsea away. Andreas has City away, so I'm happy to bench him. My transfers are either the safe bet of Mitrovic to probably Wilson. That's the safe, not take a hit bet. And I have played really safe and disciplined all season, so I am kind of itching to do something a little bit more risky. And like I may have talked myself into Salah and Foden out, Kevin De Bruyne in, plus one more. I would have enough in that. I have a bit in the bank, I have $1 million in the bank, so I could probably, to replace Foden, get any of the 8 million guys. So I have a look at those.
Are you keeping Wilf in, James?
I see. If I do that deal, I'll have to get rid of Foden because I'd have 4-man City, and the real one I want KDB. That's the one I want. And the only way to get him in is to get rid of Foden. So it would mean another stay of execution for Wilf. It looks like Wilf's going to make it to the World Cup at this point because
you'll be watching them games, fuming.
I would say Crystal Palace, though. I don't know if they've got 2 aways now, but their away form is shocking compared to their home.
It's 2 nice fixtures, but I think it is 2 aways. Yeah, it's West Ham, and it's not Everton. It's someone from low down. Maybe Wolves, actually. Could be Wolves. But Wilf is probably going to survive again because there's other things I want to do. But yeah, that's my choice. The -4, getting rid of Salah for KDB, or else boarding old Mitrovic to Wilson. So we'll see. And keep an eye on the Haaland news as well and see if we kind of or any other injuries that might crop up,
Definitely. And yeah, for me, I'm in the same boat. I think you've talked me into it, Jamesy, on this very podcast. De Bruyne in for Salah, Foden out for Rashford. I just double checked. Got more than I'd still have more than $1 million left in the bank if I make that move. And yeah, Tony can become Wilson too.
Have a look at the other guys around the 7 million. There may be other more expensive ones that you could go for as well, But yeah,
I'll have 1.6 million in the bench in the bank, and Rashford 6.7. So still could go someone in that 7.5 range, but I don't know.
6.7. You could get anyone up as far as 8.3. Then, couldn't you?
Yeah. I could actually. Yeah, better than me.
So someone like I quite fancy Maddison. I don't quite have enough to get there. I fancy Maddison in those last 2 games. I just think he's a good attacking team, a team that's improving. Like, he's at the center of everything that team does. He
wants to go to the World Cup.
Yeah, he's got the bit between his teeth. I think he's a nice alternative. If you don't want to go Rashford or Almiron, I think Maddison is, and he's very, his ownership is quite low, so you'd have a very nice differential there as well.
Harvey Barnes as well for Leicester. I like him as an attacking option. If you don't have enough for Maddison.
The only point I'll make on the captaincy point, and we talked at them, but it has occurred to me, if I do get De Bruyne in, as much as it feels, if Haaland plays 20 minutes captain, if I'm sat there looking at my team going, De Bruyne is going to play 90 minutes, Haaland's going to play 20, that's a hard, it's Haaland versus anyone else in the game, that's a different conversation, but De Bruyne in that same game as a midfielder, I don't know, I might have a bit more of a conversation, but it's gonna be news dependent. We'll see where we are, what percentage confidence we have in Haaland playing. But yeah, that kind of brings us to the end of our teams. But we can now get into the draft and to help us go through the draft. Got a surprise guest coming to join us. He's retired from regular FPL. He's only a draft player these days.
Hello, boys.
Mr. Matty Edwards, there he is.
Oh, Matty.
Matty.
Oh, mate. I've just been in backstage for the last 10 minutes listening to they go through your teams and that there. And I'm thinking, you know what? It's them early days, weren't it? Where I still haven't got a clue really, but early on I didn't. And it's too far behind to play catch up now, Jamesy. There's no way I
Get
can
his
even
team up,
attempt
Benno.
it.
Get his team up.
I'm getting it. I want to put you on blast here, mate.
I don't know the little nuances, Benno.
Oh, look at that. You're actually not bottom. Yeah, I'll bring it up.
I'm surprised in that.
You know, at least in our little contributors league, which we've still got you in. You might get relegated from. Yeah, let me zoom in. So yeah, there you are. The Bushby's babes, unfortunately, still propping up the bottom there. The business on 14, 53 points. That's pretty much in line with the average this week, Matt.
It's a good week.
There we are. Not too bad. I have no idea who that is on your bench.
Good team. Look at it.
It looks all right.
Who Shaw's took his place.
I've swapped Wilson for Tony this week though. I've definitely done that transfer.
Okay.
And who else have I brought in there? I think I got rid of one of my subs. I think I got rid of Malacia off the bench for another defense. I can't remember who it was now, but I've definitely got Wilson in because obviously Tony can't play this weekend.
I'll just pretend you made that decision in the last 10 minutes listening to James.
No, I definitely already done that for you straight out.
It's all right.
I know, this is what I'm saying.
We're talking about bringing Rashford in, he's sitting there.
I've had Rashford since day one, really. It's honestly, the early weeks were just so bad. I've actually done all right recently. I don't know, you could probably correct me there, but I think I've done okay. But there's a couple of weeks where it's been really bad, though, boys. I haven't had Haaland at all in this one, you see. I've had him in my draft, but I've never had him in this one.
Matty's time to shine. That's what it is. If he's not playing,
not having Haaland has just killed you, basically.
I think that's what it is, James. Definitely.
Yeah, that's a real rank killer. That's
why don't we
Kane and just get him?
Yeah, there you go. Why don't we say, Matty? All right, this part, at this point, Haaland's a doubt. He might not play this week. This part of the season's done. I reckon for the second half of the season, your motivation should be beating Martin. You and Martin should be having a race to not finish bottom.
You have to have someone to aim for.
Yeah. How far am I behind next place, Benno? Above me?
So behind Martin, you are. So you're above Martin, so 633 to 586. Will's not far ahead, 655 in the main league. Andy's not too far ahead. 50 points is points you could make up.
Couple of weeks, isn't it? That really? It's a couple of weeks.
Bear in mind, Martin's coming on next week to get some tips. So
that's it. Yeah, we're going to be chatting.
Right.
Do you want to ask the FPL, Matthew? Do you want any tips while you're here?
Can I be honest with you? James, he told me in depth when we done like the draft and stuff. I just don't know these, the wild cards and your free chips and all. I just don't get it. I don't understand it, Ben. I just watch footy to watch footy. I don't understand these rules. I really don't.
That's why you're more of a draft player. That's all it is.
Yeah.
That's why it suits you. But we'll bring up the draft because I know why you're here. Because he's doing all right in that one. It's not.
No, well, I was, Ben, but I've lost since Haaland. Last week, I lost last week definitely, and I threw the towel in the midweek game where City and Arsenal weren't playing, so I had to throw the towel in that week as well.
Oh wow! Yeah,
mankind stolen your urn. That's what happened.
Yeah, that gave me.
Haaland is your urn, and mankind's come and stolen it on you now. And you've lost all your powers.
Karma's burnt it down and made the necklace out of it. And it's just not going to say powers anymore.
But yeah, that's a rough grapple derby. That makes 24 to 17.
I mean,
from Gareth.
Jesus, 71 is something.
Let's look at it. Let's look at the damage. Oh wow, a lot of claret still. Yeah, Haaland's off. Alvarez not even doing it, and Meslier on the bench as well. So we got you a few more.
And
you ain't coming near Gareth their way. You're not in your two.
I swapped them each week, and I've been quite successful. So I've put Meslier back in this week because I think we'll get a goal against Tottenham. But I want to say, Ben, it's just when Haaland's there, I've got a chance. Genuinely, I've got a chance every week. That's when I'm doing well.
So he could have got 50 points this week, and Gareth would still have beat you. So
I know, true. Yeah, you've got nothing to do about that.
The bench, yeah, you've got a solid one.
I've got Connor this week, haven't I?
Connor, yeah, it's Connor this week.
You have to beat Connor for me, Matty.
I'll try me damnedest, James, especially for you, mate.
I'm in a serious relegation battle, Matty. I'm in big trouble. I'm going to lose my place in the league. I need you to beat Connor for me. Rock
I
bottom.
didn't
of the whole
realise
thing.
that.
Ah,
Is it the top two go
disaster.
down, Benno? Is that what it is?
Bottom
The
two
bottom
go
two,
down,
sorry.
yeah.
Bottom two go down, sorry, yeah.
Every time we say that, we're all regretting it because James is in the mix, and I'm honestly not that far ahead. But hey, ruthless. We've got to be. We got to.
Yeah, no, fair is fair. Rules are rules.
We sell. It is, but as we say every week, it is really unfair because you're on 509 points.
And more points than most people in the fucking thing.
It's ridiculous. That doesn't make sense, does it?
What a start! What a start!
I just keep losing by 3 or 4 points every
But I'm
single week. It's ridiculous.
Look at that, though, boys. From 4th to what? 9th is so clustered, isn't it? Like one win, and like it's all just fucking everyone beating each other there, aren't they?
And the top 3 that's a good race. That's like there's nothing in that.
Yeah, I think that's it now. I think they're the top 3.
Eddie's someone we're definitely going to get out at some point. Jordan is he was going to join us this week, but hopefully he's going to be with Martin next week. So basically, top and bottom of the 2 different leagues joining. Jordan's got quite a race going on there with Gareth. That's a good head-to-head with them too. We were saying last week, Matty, like Jordan's like I think he's playing mind games. Like he's beating people by like 2 to 3 points every week. He's squeaked like we said last time.
He's got less points than loads of people.
He's got less points than you, James.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Look at the draw.
How does that happen?
It's like
William Barrow.
Gareth was saying to us about his team 605 points. That's better than some teams in the league.
Yeah. Without any captaincy.
Yeah. There's Will Knight.
Is he there? So he's on the same as us, is he? Okay.
Same as you in the mix. But the other big game from this week, me and Andy, 50 to 53, Andy.
That's a good game,
That's a good
I don't want to say it, but I do feel a little bit like, that Fabianski
trade.
What
decided it? What was the trade again, Benno?
I gave him who did I give you? Fabianski and Luis Diaz to go on his bench. And I got Saka and Neto. So I think
Fabianski does his hamstring then in the first game he plays.
Yeah, 1 point. And I think so. If you didn't have Fabianski, you'd have played Mendy. So that's an extra point for you, Eddie. So that puts you on 51. If you look at my team, I'm on 53. You take Saka out the equation, who are playing, and Ketcha. That's another 3. You'd have beat me by 1 point.
It was
That's a sickener.
Pascal Gross who come in off your bench because Danny Welch didn't play. Honestly, Sunday evening, take a word out of Matty's mouth. I was fuming. My score would have beat everyone else apart from like Gareth.
Yeah.
Ridiculous match that were 53-50.
That's a serious game.
That's tight, boys.
That is actually that's the top 2 scores of the game week. Yeah. But I mean, other than that, yeah, you had a great week, Andy. It's just
Thomas Partey.
You just brought him in, didn't you?
Yeah. Obviously Martinelli I've kept in, but done all right there. Defence.
It's a good team on paper, attacking wise. Bloody hell.
Yeah. So
when you get Diaz back,
you'll
actually have like benching headaches. You'll have so many good forwards. You'll be like, who the hell am I going to leave out?
Boys, can I ask a question? Does the subs count for any points in this? No, in the draft it doesn't, does it?
Only if they come on. If you have someone who doesn't play and they come on, yeah, that's how it is.
Oh, do you? Yeah, do you get points for that?
Yeah, if they come on, yeah. If you play it, you've got someone not playing in your main team. But yeah, that's a killer for you, Andy. Yeah, other than that, Matty, Gareth, Eddie beating Connor, JP, close one there with Jordan. Jordan might that might be a big 3 points for Jordan.
That's a big win, huge win.
He's had 2 big wins this season against Jordan and Gareth.
That shows you anyone could beat anyone any given night, boys.
I can't beat anyone.
Sorry, James.
Yeah, rough week for Jordan there. James, you on the losing end to Chris Elliott. What happened with your lot this week? 36
defense.
The defense was brilliant, and then the fucking rest of them just nothing. Absolutely nothing. My one hope is that I have Isaac sitting there ready to come on for me after the World Cup. Hopefully he'll.
I'm the same with
bolster.
Reece James. Jamesy, I'm going a strong second half of the season with James back. Hopefully, not giving him up.
That's my only hope now is to. Do you know the way if somebody has a player who got a long-term injury but who's a good player, and if they get rid of them because I'm so low down, I might get a chance to get them. And then later on in the season, I might get a few wins out of that. Like I have a strong team in 10 weeks' time, kind of. That's my tactic at the moment. It's all I can do, really.
You can spend November and December, plotting, planning, James.
Exactly.
I wonder what happens actually in the break with the the transaction window in the draft. I wonder what will happen there. Will it just be? It'll just be one big window, I suppose, won't it? Until
it'll just be one big window.
It's going to be chaos, though, boys. When it comes back, you've got like Boxing Day fixtures. Then you've got is it the 30th, and then the 2nd? There's a pretty short span of games in that week when it comes back to the draft.
There'll also be the January transfer window, so some new names will come in to be drafted, which is good as well. For those of us down the bottom, that'll be good if some teams may make some moves.
You be like Harry Redknapp, James.
My only hope.
You be like Harry Redknapp, get about 5 in on loan.
first round draft picks for Jamesy.
Who's that guy he always signed?
Cranchar.
To get him in, be grand.
Well, next week, it's me against Will, Lynn against Jamesy. There we go. We can chat about that one next week. That'll be a fun one. Chris Elliott, JP, Jordan Eddy, Connor Matthew, as we said, and you got GRAPPL Gareth, Andy. Tough on that. Connor will be Jordan. Will
That's a tough one, Andy. That you've got to do some to claw it back, mate. I'm pulling for you there. I love Gareth, but I'm pulling for you there, mate.
No chips. That's the thing, Andy. You're at a disadvantage in the draft.
He's always a big mover in the transactions, though. You'll always see Andy with 3 or 4 moves.
Yeah, I've got about 5 proposed ones in already, so.
That's one and lost, but that's the draft, and we'll have a Matty, we'll have a look at the overall main league. You'll be even further down on this one. I'm afraid.
Shocking on this one, Benno.
Can you guess who's top?
Wasn't it? Who was it? Was it you, Jamesy?
No,
you were up there, weren't you?
No,
it's our Romanian friend, Dan Duco. We don't know who he is, Matt. Dan Duco, sorry.
No idea who
this is. A stage name.
We don't know. Nobody's ever come forward and said, I don't know, is he? He's in one league, Benno, that refers to German suplexes. So he must have some. If you look at the league, if you look at the leagues he's in, the German suplex league. So he has some interest in wrestling. Now it's only him and someone else. I thought it might be you,
Benno, on a bayonet account or something. Having about 10
He'd fucking tell us if it was him.
Oh yeah, I just switched the name already, and that's all. Anyway, that's interesting, that James, because I had been looking and going, he's in.
Yeah, I was having a look, so he must have some interest in wrestling. He must be a listener. I don't know.
How has he found us? He must have.
Has anybody searched the name on Twitter?
Yeah,
should have done that.
I've searched him on Facebook. Okay. I've searched him on Instagram. I can't find him. Where is he?
He's off the radar, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, he's gonna walk this thing because he's number one in so many of his leagues.
But he's used his chips, Benno. That's the only thing. He's used his. I think he's used his triple captain and possibly his free hit already.
And wildcard as well.
And he's that like a horse hitting the front early, trying to go for it. What he's done. In a race, trying to stay on.
He's been heavy on the whip.
In fairness,
another circuit of the track to go, but
exactly, mate.
If you go into the overall, I heard someone talking about this. The world number one, this come on the pegs. He's, I think he's done the same thing. He's used all his chips as well, and he's overall one. So we've. It may be the strategy that we should all go for. So, there you go. Got an Irishman top of the overall. United.
Well, I'm going to use one of my chips next week, Benno. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm going to use one of them. Or should I wait till after the World Cup? I've used nothing.
Wait, Matty.
He's still got his wild card, though. You still got a wild card?
What's that, Benno?
Oh,
Matty's still got a wild card. If you're asking what's that, you have a wild card, yes.
So you can change your entire. You have unlimited free. If you play your wild card, for 1 week you'll have unlimited free transfers. You can change your whole team.
to the best.
But-
Obviously, all players, 11 best players.
Yeah.
15.
Yeah, you'll have your budget, like, so obviously you have to stay under your budget. But
Right, yeah, okay, yeah.
But you can bring, you could, like, you know, the way, otherwise, if you take transfers, it's -4, -8. You can take any amount you want without losing points.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
and then it goes back to the team before it, after the next week.
No, that'll be your team then for good.
Oh, right.
So you can permanently change your team, and you should use it either this week or next week, because you'll lose it then. Once the World Cup starts, it'll be gone.
Jamesy, thank you. I'll use it next week probably, because I want Haaland to be fit, because I'm going to wait till Haaland. I've got to get Haaland in, haven't I, to make a difference. But no, nice one. I'll definitely use it next week.
Don't worry about your other chips, because like James, you said that you get 2 wild cards this season. Normally it's only 1, so you've had 1 to use this half of the season. So in an ideal world, you'd have used it like 6 weeks ago to just reset your team. But now, if you still got it now, it is gonna go in the Christmas window. So yeah,
so
use it this
I
week
might as well just use it regardless. Yeah, okay.
Oh, dude, yeah. But also, you could have 2 really good weeks as well if you, because you can literally focus on the fixtures. You don't have to think, I'll buy this guy and he'll get me loads of goals for the rest of the season. You're going to get another wild card during the World Cup. Do you know what I mean? So you get another chance to change your team again. So you literally
just focus on these 2 fixtures.
On the fixtures for the next 2 weeks. Pick the players who have the best fixtures for those 2 weeks, and you could make massive gains. You might catch up with Bushby. You never know.
Yeah. No, nice one, boys. I'll do that next week, 100%, or maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, that's it. And then, second half of the season, we'll go through triple captain bench.
Save the rest of them, because you can really
next
use
time
them well.
I'm on them properly, after the second half, explain them others to me, and I'll write it down so I know when to use them and stuff.
The pen. What year is this?
I'll actually use a pen better, yeah.
But going back to the GRAPPL League, Dan Duca, the Romanian, still sits at the top. So maybe not the hooky pick I thought he was. I just thought he was going to be some random Romanian who's joined our league, but maybe he is a listener. Maybe he is out there.
You're doing well, Jamesy, though.
But yeah, James, he's in the mix.
Yeah. Very happy.
My main man, Benno Adamski, he's up there. Legend, he's there.
Yeah. We were saying that he's having a cracking season. We'll have to try and talk him into coming on. We won't add him to the GRAPPL FPL league though, because he'll just make us all look bad. But he's looking great in the main league there. But yeah, James, you're in the mix. Another green arrow for you. Trying to see Jordan's had a bit of a red arrow this week, which is unlike him. Any Houlihan's knocking about this? There's JP's Tommy.
There's Tommy, 26.
26, yeah. Matt Salter's climbing the league there as well. Oh, man, Neil, 34. Yeah, there's JP, 41st. JP's having a sneaky good little season there.
Don Bell.
There I am, 73rd. Oh, yeah, Don Bell's doing well there, 44th.
Where's Gareth?
He's so low you couldn't see him on the first page. That's why I didn't turn up tonight, didn't it?
He stopped coming on the podcast when it all started going wrong, basically.
He was going to come on tonight, to be fair to him, but I don't know. He's hiding is what he's doing, Matty. He's hiding from the inspection of his team. But yeah, the bottom's always the fun bit. Let's see.
I'm there proper rocks finisher, aren't I? I'm down there, like.
No,
Roberto Carlos still bottom. No, you're not. I don't think you're in the mix.
He's given up, that guy, has he? 485.
There I am, Benno.
154th. Yeah, there's you. Yeah, Martin in the overall league. Yeah, Martin's not having the best of times either. Martin's fourth from bottom in the overall. So yeah, when we get him on, we'll be giving him a talking to hopefully next week. So yeah, maybe we can pass some of yours and Jordan's knowledge onto Martin next week, Jamesy. But yeah, that's he's kind of the of all lot kind of doing the worst. Jordan Varley not doing too well either. Matty, you're in danger there, mate. We need to get that wild card on the go. Can't have you in those.
I'm going to start listening to your boys. Definitely 1,000,000%. Like,
good man.
I need to get up that table.
That's it. Well, yeah, only the 2 game weeks to go, lads. Yeah, we got this one coming up, and then we'll have the big podcast next week to preview the final game week of this half of the season. But plenty still to play for, lads. But yeah, I think that's it. Pretty much it, is it? As far as I think you can say. Crystal and I hopefully are back with us next week. As I say, Martin should be joining us. Jordan should be joining us. But in the meantime, anything to plug, lads? Matty, anything you want to throw out?
No, I've just literally finished recording the must-see matches with Kieran and Mark. They're doing the first ever Hell in a Cell match with Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, and that was great. Like, so I think that's coming out next on Monday. So,
we'll
yeah,
listen to that.
Great podcast.
Yeah, good stuff. Oh, he is. Yeah,
very.
I love it, Jamesy. They do good work, the lads.
They do.
Brilliant. Anything for you, Jamesy?
No. Next week on the show, we'll have the first half of the season, the Troll 11, the 11 players that have broken our hearts this season. I'll try and do up a nice graphic and get them up on the screen nicely, and we'll talk them through and talk who broke our hearts. And yeah, it's competition is heavy now. I have about 15 names so far, so I have to trying to. There are people could still get on now. If Foden gets dropped again now this week, he's fucking captain of that team at this point.
Triple captain, mate.
Triple captain, exactly.
I look forward to that. It's a great feature.
Yeah,
we'll do that.
Plug. My Twitter at Jamesy_2015, but that's about it. Yeah.
Good man. And Andy, I know you've been up to lots. I know you had the poll, didn't you, for the next GCP podcast you're going to be doing over the next year?
Andy. W didn't win, you know. Go through about that.
Yeah, so we're doing a TNA 2005 next year. So it's an actual good year of.
That'll be good, yeah.
GW2000. But you can follow us on Twitter, Oggy Part 3. Currently got a nice thread up on there of Chris Jericho looking like Jim David.
It's amazing. It's amazing, Andy, you know, seriously.
It's fantastic.
Just keeps getting better. It was a great addition to that today. I enjoyed that. But yeah, definitely check that out if you haven't already. But yeah, we'll be back next week to say Crystal and A joining us. We should have Martin and Jordan joining us. So yeah, family affair next week to take us in to the final game week of the season. So yeah, good luck, folks. Keep an eye on those Harlem training photos, and we will see you again next week.
Zaha.
Cheers, Al.